Welcome to the Armchair Coaching Podcast. My name is Coach Sheffer. I am the offensive line coach at Brentsville District High School in Nokesville, Virginia. And today we have another great guest. But before we get started, do us a favor. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button down below. We're trying to grow our community here on the podcast. If you want to listen to this in podcast form, we are available on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as many other platforms. So tonight's guest, we have Coach Zach Davis. Coach is the head football coach of Nitro High School in Nitro, West Virginia. He is also a fellow podcaster. You can find his podcast on all the same platforms that you find the Armchair Coaching Podcast. Just search in Mind of a Football Coach podcast. Coach Davis, welcome in.
Oh man, thank you for having me. I was telling you earlier, I was looking forward to this all day. I love doing podcasts, and being on somebody else's is fun. I'm used to, you got all the stress. I just get to talk. You have all the stuff you got to deal with.
Yeah, I was a guest on somebody else's podcast the other day, and I was like, man, this is easy.
Yeah, we just answer questions. Like, when you're running it, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get this in. How I want to phrase this. Let's make sure the sound's good. My intro's right. And man, you do you on this one, my man. You do it.
Awesome. Well, we're just going to go ahead and jump in. So the first question I have is, I am fascinated by everybody's story because every coach seems to have their own unique story and how they became a coach, how they got to where they are. So could you tell us about your coaching journey? Basically, where did you start and how did you end up where you are now?
Oh, man. So my dad played pro baseball for 13 years. He played for the Orioles, A's, Tigers, Royals, and Padres. So sports was in my blood. It's something that I grew up around. He got done playing when I was in third grade. And I thought baseball was going to be my thing. Everybody's like, oh, you're Storm Davis's kid. You're going to be a good baseball player. Well, I was a good baseball player. I got cut from the middle school baseball team in seventh grade, if that gives you any inkling of my baseball skill. So that happened. And then I was a bigger kid. I'm like 6'3", 6'4". I was about 6'1", 6'2" back then. And I was, an offensive lineman type body. And so I started playing football. I liked it, went and played it in high school and college. And then my dad coached me in high school. He was my offensive line coach, and his dad was a high school head football coach. And I just knew that's what I wanted to do. I love doing it. And if you love what you do, you never work. And that's something that I really just enjoy. And I've been doing it since 2009. I've been a head coach the past 6 years up here in West Virginia. So we met my wife in college. We got married, moved back down to Florida, which is where I'm from, and then moved to Georgia because they pay you a whole lot more money to coach in Georgia. And then an opportunity came open in West Virginia at Riverside High School in 2015. And I saw it on Football Scoop, and I really wanted to be a head coach. My wife and I had talked about it. She was like, you're ready. So, you get the blessing from the wife to go try something. Let's go do it. So became the head coach 2015 there. They were coming off an 0-10 season. I was such a good head coach. We went 0-10 my first year. And then we went 4-6 back-to-back years. Really one game away from the playoffs. If we would have won our last game both years, we would have been – well, in 16, we may not have made it at 5-5, but 2017, we were playing to be in the playoffs. And we lost the last game of the year in a nail-biter. They had a kid going to Penn State, played tight end. He was a big difference in that game. That guy's a stud. His name's Brenton Strange. That guy was a man amongst boys. But then I took the Nitro job after that. Nitro is a really good school. Their principal's our principal, Jason Redmond, is the best. And he put a bunch of money in our weight room this past year. We just got a turf field. So I think we're going the right direction, and man, it's fun to be here, and it's funny where the Lord leads you. And it's been a wild ride, but it's been a good ride. It's been really fun.
Man, you've been all over the country. Well, all over the East Coast at least. But everyone on the East Coast knows that Georgia is probably the coaching destination, for the money, at least on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah, that's the best pay outside of Texas from what I understand. And I was so smart I left. I was there 2 years as defensive coordinator. We went 13-1. Then and that was 2013. And then 2014, we started 0-6, but made it to the state championship game. The playoff system there is different than it is some states. So we played non-region games for the first 6 games, and we won on a winning streak and got all the way to Georgia Dome. We got beat in the state championship game. But, as a coach, if you're doing it for the money, I don't know that you're in it for the right reasons. I mean, it's a great place to coach. Trust me. Georgia is a great place to teach and coach. But we knew the Lord had called us here. And West Virginia is really poor. Like we were talking before the podcast, we're last in like every academic category in the United States. And we feel like this is our calling to try to help kids become better young men and just try to help them build a life and to see that, hey, this can be done the right way. And we just try to model that for our student athletes.
Yeah. And you mentioned you got to get permission from the wife. I mean, even when I told her one day, a couple weeks ago, I was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. She's like, you're not going to have time for that. But she said, go ahead and try. Hey, we're still here. So I must have been doing something right. Okay. So the next question, I like to ask a lot of coaches about, culture and leadership. So could you describe your personal leadership style as a coach?
Yeah, I would say I'm all about relationships, meaning you can't demand something of somebody until they trust you. And, maybe 20 years ago, maybe when I was growing up playing, a coach could come in and demand this, demand that. You have to do it this way. I'm the boss. I don't know if that would work today as well as it did just 20 years ago. So we come in and we try to build a culture to where we're going to earn their trust. And there's a couple of ways we do that. So we have 4 sayings. One is, I will always love you, right? I will never lie to you. I'll stand with you and by you through life. And then there are boundaries, don't cross them. And what we mean by boundaries is, if you get arrested, there's not much I can do for you, or you're ineligible. Like I can't really help you there. But beyond those 2 things, we're there to love them, we're there to tell them the truth, and we're there to stand by them. And they know that from day one. The 2 programs I've taken over. And that's something we really talk about a lot is that, hey, man, I'm here for you. I'm here for you as a person. The football thing's great, but I'm here to help you succeed in life. And we do that through 2 ways. So we want to win the day. We want to be better today than we were yesterday. And then we want to do hard things together, which we call TNT. So the school's name is Nitro. So like explosives. So TNT, teamwork and toughness, is what we talk about. So that's doing hard things together. And, Nitro football, up until last year, we won 4 games, which is not great, obviously, but that's the most wins since 2007, if that gives you any picture of where the football program was. And Riverside was about the same picture, the program before I took over Nitro. And it's a we thing. It's be together. It's do hard things together. We're never going to, that's not never, but we are rarely going to out-talent people. So we have to believe in each other, believe in ourselves, and just trust that by us doing the right things every day, we're going to give ourselves a chance. And a clear picture of that last year was we beat our main rival for the first time since 2012, I believe. And that was a cool feeling. Now we got to go play them again, obviously, but they're a well-coached, good football team. But we think we got to go in the right direction.
How big is your school?
Coach, we got about 770 kids in high school, which for West Virginia, that's AA. So we only go up to AAA. The biggest school in our state has about 2,000 kids. We don't have a ton of schools here. I mean, there's more schools in one division in Ohio than there is the entire state of West Virginia. So, we're a small state, but football is important here to people. And it's something that definitely is a big source of community pride.
All right. So if you were over here in Virginia, that'd be considered pretty small.
Yeah, I imagine.
Because here I'm at the school that I am, we're about halfway in it. Like we're about average. We have about 1,000 kids a year, but we're 3A and we go all the way up to 6A. and I used to teach and coach at a 6A school, which was about 2,500 kids.
Oh, geez.
Well, it was a school that was that big, but we struggled to get 30 kids on the football team. It was
Oh,
not
wow.
it wasn't a good culture when I showed up.
Yeah.
So it's things, you have different problems at a school like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going on a tangent.
No,
All
that's good.
right.
That's what podcast is for. Is long form, baby. We can go
Exactly.
long here. There's no time limit here.
All right. So one of the things another thing I like to ask, because me personally, as a football fan, I like the NFL and it's pretty good football, but I am a passionate college football fan. So I always want to know who are your favorite college teams, and
Hmm.
are there any other teams out there that you love to watch?
Oh man, well, I graduated from Liberty University, which made a great hire in Hugh Freeze. So I'm a big Liberty fan, but they don't play on like national TV a lot. So nationally, I really like Tennessee, the Vols. I don't know why. I grew up in Florida, and my personality is just one of those. I can't go with the flow. So, everybody. When I was growing up, Peyton Manning was the quarterback of Tennessee, and then it was T. Martin. And all my friends were like, "Go Gators," and I was like, "Forget that, Rocky Top. Let's do something to get the pot stirred." So, Tennessee, if as a fan, I just like to watch the Big Orange. I got to watch them in the Gator Bowl this past year, and that was really fun. Schematically, I like to watch teams like Army. We're not triple option, but we're more like wing T. But I just like their approach. It's they're going to bloody your nose. They're going to grind the clock, and that's just as an old offensive lineman, that just gives me peace in my soul to watch that style of offense. And they're a little different than Navy. Navy's more true triple, but Army, they're going to smash you with the belly G play and trap and wedge and stuff like that.
All right, good. Now you and me can definitely be friends if we're going to be rooting for Army.
There you go, the Black Knights, baby.
Exactly. I do rep Army a lot on Twitter. It's just I've really started liking them for a couple of years now. I started liking them before they had that nice 10-win season, and then they had the 11-win season. I was really a big fan of Jeff Monken. I think
Yeah.
I really liked what he was doing, and I've always watched the academies. It doesn't matter which one it was. I've always been a fan of academy football, military football, but the triple option and the way that they do it, it's pretty nice to watch. I mean, some people get bored though. I don't get bored. I will say it's satisfying to watch a 90-yard, 15-minute Army drive score
Absolutely.
a touchdown.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah.
Also, probably a little bit because I played wing T when I was in high school, and so that's my background. And I've been a huge believer in the wing T, and so the fact that you get to see a team at Division I that seems to be blending wing T concepts with the triple option and being pretty successful at it, it's pretty nice to see it.
Oh yeah.
Especially since they're like pretty much the only one, except for Tulane. Tulane does a little bit of wing T here and there, which is interesting.
Yeah, they do. They do a good job. And Gus Malzahn, I mean, the basis of his stuff's wing T. I mean, inside zone's veer and a mirror, but I mean, his gap scheme stuff's all wing T. I mean, that's power counter buck sweep. So it's definitely sprinkled in. People just don't run it with like the 100, 900 red and blue stuff anymore.
Yeah. It's funny. My head coach, I have the utmost respect for the coach that I work for right now, but he is definitely a wing T hater.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah. So, and he knows that I love the wing T. So every time he gets a chance, he always likes to, poke the bear.
Sure.
Because he knows. Well, he does it for fun. We're friends and we respect each other, but he's like, wing T sucks. I'm like, shut up. We run buck sweep. Shut up. But
yeah, I mean, I think most offenses now are mutts. Like most people have a little bit of everything in their stuff. I mean, we're gun wing T, but we have air raid passing concept. So I mean, just take what fits in your scheme and use it.
Yeah. So I've actually been listening to your podcast for a couple weeks now. Can you tell the listeners the story behind how you started your own podcast?
Oh, wow. So where do I start? So I've written a couple like ebooks I put out like on my Twitter feed or stuff like that. People just click the link. I never wanted to charge people for that. I just was like, people give me so much for free. I just have a hard time charging people for anything. So I was like, well, I can write a book or, something like that. And I wrote like an article for a local paper, and that takes a lot of time. I was like, I don't know if I have this amount of time to do this. And then I work on the weekends. I did back then. I do now. I took a little break. But I work for like a pop company. I work for Pepsi on the weekends, stocking shelves. So I don't have time to sit down and write. And I have 2 kids. And so I thought to myself, well, how can I give the universe some knowledge? Not that I'm even wise, but just my thoughts. Maybe we can share some ideas. And then, I was listening to some podcasts. So I started Googling, how do you start a podcast? And I found Buzzsprout, and they charged you like $12 a month or whatever to start. I didn't have a microphone. I had nothing. I just had a computer. So if a computer has a microphone, so I just started talking to the computer. And I did my first one, then the second one, and it just kind of gets rolling. I took a break about a year ago, like during a football season that was kind of hectic. But now I got the microphone, the headphones, and I think we're cooking with gas now. And it's cool getting more guests. Like people like see you actually have like a podcast. And you'll find this. I've asked guys to be on like Jeff Herron or Tim McFarland, who are legends in the Georgia coaching world. And they just go, "Oh, cool, yeah, I'll do it." Like when you ask them, you're thinking they're probably just going to say no. And then they go, "Oh, yeah, sure," and it's really cool to have people do that. And so it's been fun. And then Anchor pays you to do it. They give you some ads, so that helps. But yeah, it's been cool, man. You'll enjoy it too. It's a blast. It's the way to connect with people you never connect with. I mean, I would never have had a conversation with almost all of my guests. I only knew a handful of people I've interviewed before we did the podcast, and that's what makes it fun to me.
Yeah, I was very surprised because a couple weeks ago, I just looked through the people I followed and the people who are following me. I was like, I wonder who might be interested and who might help grow the podcast because they have lots of followers. And so I just sent out some Twitter messages, some Facebook messages. I was like, hey, are you interested? Thinking maybe like 1 or 2 of them. It was like, no, almost all of them responded, yeah, sure, I'd love to jump on the
Yeah.
podcast. And like I had the UVA offensive line coach, Coach 2J. He was
Oh,
on.
shoot.
Yeah, and that one's actually well, by the time ours comes out, it will have released. But I was so surprised that he said yes. I had met him at a glacier clinic that back in the winter time, and he was such a nice guy. And I was like, he probably doesn't remember me. And then the moment he got on the Zoom call, he's like, oh yeah, I remember you in Baltimore. I was like, really? Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's cool. That is so cool.
I know. So I think podcasting, I think I learn more from it than I actually get knowledge out to other people. So I've stolen
Sure.
some concepts from some coaches. Like I had a local college offensive line coach on a couple weeks ago, and he's an air raid guy, and we're not air raid, but we're still spread. And so he was telling me about all these different like pass pro drills, and I think I stole about 10 different drills from him that I'm really excited to
Yeah,
try out this year.
that's awesome.
Podcasts, it's been great, and I'm sure it's been great for you too. And I hope yours grows too, because I enjoy listening to your podcast.
I appreciate that, man. It's just a hobby, I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to get the word out and trying to help people. Yeah, and you're doing the same thing. Like you're trying to help people that with free information that's good. Because there are some people out there who are like, they're bandits trying to steal people's money. I feel like with some of this, man, if it was given to you for free, you should probably pass it on for free. You know what I mean? That's just that's my philosophy. It's other people have different philosophies. That's my philosophy.
And I told my wife, I said, I have no delusions of grandeur. I'd be okay if I only had 5 listeners. I have a couple more than
Oh shoot, man,
5,
you're going
but
to grow this thing.
I hope
Yeah.
so. All right. So you kind of mentioned the shotgun wing tee, which, as a personal guy who's a wing tee fan myself, I'm pretty excited to talk a little bit of wing tee football. Could you describe the major differences between your offense and the old school under center wing tee?
Oh gosh, I would just say formations. I mean, the core of it is there. Your buck sweep, trap, down. We call, the belly play, that we call that lead. So we got the buck, down, trap, lead, power. Our power is 8 or 9 hole power. Hits it for the back. It's the same track as buck sweep. You got your counter play, right? Your GT counter. Our passing game, you have waggle. We don't have our keep pass is really an actual air raid protection. It's like a half man, half slide protection. So we fake the power off that, and then the quarterback spins out, and then he's looking for like post to wheel. So we have an air raid concept. It's one of our top quick game ones. We're running vertical and speed out. That's a Mike Leach original concept, which is cool. It's like I had a guy coach for us, and he left and moved on, and we just kept it because our quarterback's really good at throwing it. And we see a lot of quarters recover three. So that speed out's open, 4 steps and out. There's usually some grass there to throw the ball to. Then we get some empty stuff. We do some RPOs out of that. Our quarterback's like 6'3", 230, and he's about a 4'9" kid. I mean, he can run a little bit. So for us, that's fast here in West Virginia. And so we're running buck sweep with, snap or bubble screen to the other side. We're running down. We run a counter off that. I mean, there's just some different things you can do that dress it up. And it being in the gun it's easier for kids to be like, oh, okay, this is cool. Because it's at my school, I'm going to have like 30, 35 kids in the football team. So you have to be a salesman. If I was at a school that had like 80 kids, you don't really have to be a salesman. Those are football kids. They just want to play football. I'm trying to convince, the third string point guard off the bench to come play football, because he's decently athletic, but he's not getting much time on the basketball court. So, those types of things. They're trying to get those guys to play. And our basketball coach, his son's our quarterback. So we get some basketball players that haven't played much football. So you're trying to teach them stuff really quickly, because we call ourselves Last Chance U. Our community is very transient. So we get guys that come in and go out. It's a lot of low-income housing in our area. So that happens pretty regularly for us. Our top rusher in 2018 was a one-year wonder senior transfer. 2019, same situation. 2020, if we play, will be a little different. We have a guy that'll be back for another year. But in the wing T, you share that load. You know what I mean? It gets shared. 2019, we were spread, but we ran on wing T concept. So it was like jet sweep, quarterback lead, and then tailback counter. And then we ran some double sniffer stuff with quarterback power. So, I mean, it was a lot of wing T concepts. And I met with a guy named Jason Ryan, who's the offensive coordinator at Wheeling Central Catholic. They've won like 12 state championships up here in West Virginia in Class A. And he was talking to me about how they run the gun, run the wing T from the gun. And we were looking to go into that, and we just bought in hook, line, and sinker, and let's do this thing. And so, like, one thing that's cool, so if you get like tight wing right, receiver left, wing left, we just take the quarterback, we back him up to 4 yards, and we put the fullback away from the tight end in the A gap in front of him. So any time the 3-back, the fullback carries the ball, he gets a direct snap. So we have 4 potential ball carriers in any play. And then you have the play action. And our screen game's pretty good. I mean, you can get a screen about everybody on the field. So yeah, it's been good for us. And that's what we'll do going forward. And, you'll find, this is my podcast, I kind of go back and forth, like, I like the I, like the wing T. And it's what fits your personnel. I mean, like, if we had a tailback that I thought could rush for 1,500 yards and a backup that was decent, we'd probably be in the I, because we'd feed that guy like 25 times a game. But we don't have that right now. I don't see us having it. So we're going to try to share the load on offense.
So when you run buck sweep, are you running it with the wing, or is the fullback running the buck sweep, or do you do both?
Yeah, our fullback does not run buck sweep. He runs trap. He runs down. And then an empty, we move that personnel around a little bit. So like an empty for us is tight wing right, trips away from the tight wing, and you have the quarterback standing back there in the gun. So if we run buck sweep, we motion them. So like 28 buck, we're going to motion the wing. He's going to take the handoff. The quarterback's going to take the snap. He'll, turn to the wing in motion, and they'll hand it to them, and we're blocking gap down backer, and then pull kick, center's blocking on area, and then the backside tackles. We get our backside tackle to try to scoop that backside 3 technique, so he doesn't just hit the fullback in the teeth. If they're playing like an underfront. So when our fullback fills a gap to outside on the backside. I mean, it's if you got Tubby Raymond's wing T book, we block buck sweep just like they ruled up to block there, pretty much.
Awesome. Yeah, I am a wing T. Like I do believe in the under center wing T. I'm just not sure if I were ever as an offensive coordinator, I'm not sure how I would sell that, to a potential head coach or even just the team. So maybe I'll call it, power spread and say we're gonna run what Auburn runs, what Ohio State runs. It's gonna look just like that,
Yeah. For us, we don't really have like this year, maybe in the future, we don't have a lot of true receivers. Like guys like, hey, just split them out there. You're 6'3", 170, 180. We don't have that right now. And then the kind of way we sell it too is, hey man, like if I can hand you the ball, I can guarantee touches. If I have to split you out, I can't guarantee that 1, the ball is going to be there, 2, the protection is going to be right, or 3, he's the guy you're going to throw to based on his progression. So that's another way we sell it is you're going to get more guaranteed touches. So if you're the 4-back and we call 49 buck, you're getting the ball. Like there is no like, does he pull and throw the RPO? Does he throw the route? No, like we're handing you the rock. So that's another way for us to sell. And our kids know our history. So last year, we had in our 4 wins, we rushed for 1,500 yards and we threw for 111. So, and we sell that. Like, if we run the football, we win. And then that's just, like you said, culture. Like, kids know we're going to run the ball. Like, they know I call the plays, and we're running the football. That's just the way it is. Our quarterback would rather run it than throw it anyway. So that helps us sell that, definitely.
Yeah, this is bringing in the culture thing. I think to be able to successfully run a triple option, successfully run a wing T, you have to have a good positive culture behind that, a we not me mentality, right? And I think that when you're successful at running those offenses, it's a little easier to sell that culture to the kids as well. Like if you're successful running that offense and the kids see that, they're more willing to buy into it. I feel like certain spread teams, it's a lot of you're trying to sell the spread because it's what everybody else does. And
Right.
So you're not exactly trying to say, oh, it's about us, not about you, especially when the quarterback gets to throw the ball 60 times a game, or that one running back gets the ball and nobody else sees it. That's a little difficult, but like a wing T, 3 or 4 people are going to run that ball that game, multiple times. And then you're at least going to get a couple passes in. So the ball is going to get spread around. Definitely. It's, yeah, you're gonna say.
No, I just that's the key. I mean, last year, half of our offense was our quarterback and tailback. I mean, over half. So, that was a selling point to our kids going forward. Is, hey man, like the quarterback and tailback could account for 2,500 yards, or some of y'all could have 1,000-something yards to the offense. And that's one of those things where you just got, if you explain it to them, kids want to learn, right? And they want to please their coach. So you just explain it to them and, okay, they start to get it. Like, oh, if I block, on buck sweep, like I block that 9 technique, even though I don't really want to, because I think I'm a skill guy. Well, if you're doing that well, then I'm going to get you the ball, man. Like I tell them that, like, if you block, you will get the ball. And and it's true. Like if they have a great block, the next play I'm calling, on the scrimmage, we had one scrimmage or in practices, you're getting the ball. Like I'm trying to get you the rock because you do what you're supposed to do.
Are you familiar with Kenny Simpson from Arkansas?
Yeah, I had him on my podcast. Yeah, he was great, man. He was awesome.
Yeah, he allowed me to watch his CoachTube stuff because I helped him review it and that kind of thing. And Man, there's the way that he adds in very simple RPO concepts just on the buck
Mm-hmm.
sweep concept. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just, and he calls this one, I don't want to like give it away. I'm not going to tell everybody what it is, but it's so simple how he teaches the receiver just to cut inside of his guy. And he just says, just get open and get behind that linebacker who's probably going with the flow of the buck. That
Right.
every video I've seen of that, it's wide open. And
Yeah.
so a shotgun wing tee with that added in, that's got to be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if our fullback's more of a bigger kid, we can personnel to do like that formation he does, like twins, one side, tight wing, the other side, and like the backs next to the quarterback. We may do that going forward, but man, we haven't played a game in like 6 weeks. We're like still repping like camp stuff. Like we're running like our camp offense because we haven't even played a game yet. Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely talk about West Virginia here in a little bit. Um,
Cool.
so this is a question that I ask whenever I have somebody who's an X's and O's kind of guy on. It's what are some ways that you would adapt your offense for players of different skill sets? So let's say one year you have more receivers, or
Mm-hmm.
another year you have some pretty good running backs.
Mm-hmm.
I had an air raid guy on the other day, and I asked him, how would you adapt your offense for a running quarterback versus a passing quarterback? So you can take this any direction you want, but how do you
Yeah.
adapt your offense for different skill sets?
Oh man. First of all, I would say I don't have like an offense. I know some guys are like, this is my offense, this is my scheme. We run whatever our personnel dictates we run. So if we had, 3 6 foot and up legit dudes at receiver, we'd run, 20 personnel, 11 personnel, and we'd run power counter, jet sweep. I'm not a zone person. I used to be a big zone guy. You have to have good offensive linemen. Like we were pretty good at it here in 2017, but our line, they all benched above 300. They were all experienced guys. Like it takes, and our back could see it. Good gosh, he could see inside zone. So I mean, a gap scheme is my core belief philosophy. Power counter, buck sweep, the wing tee, run game, that kind of stuff. But then you just got to fit the skill guys in what they can do best. And that's just my belief. So like if we had 2 legitimate dudes at tailback, then it comes down to what can your quarterback do? What kind of guy you have there at quarterback? Because I mean, I think the best coach in the world is Bill Belichick, and he's not stuck in any one system. He's like, hey, I'll just do what we have. And at my school, that's definitely what we have to do. I mean, golly, coach, we'll have like for us to have 6 new starters on each side of the ball each year, or 7 is par for the course. I mean, that's just the way it is. We get a lot of guys that come out late in their high school careers, juniors and seniors, guys transfer in, guys transfer out, based on where they're living, because it's low income, right? It's kind of a transient deal. So we build it every year, and that's our philosophy. That could be wrong. Now, do I see us being gun wing T for a little bit? Yes, I do. I think that's fitting us for the foreseeable future. But I mean, our starting quarterback now showed up the first day of practice his 9th grade year. So, that's just kind of the way it rolls. So you got to be flexible enough to say, hey, either we stay with this, we just get better, or we need to change it to fit the needs of our personnel. And that's a hard coaching decision. I feel like that's one of the hardest things. Do we press in and get better at this, or do we just try to mold it to what they can do? And, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that.
I think the fact that you have the shotgun wing tee as your base that you can always go back to whenever you need
Yeah.
to, I think that gives you an advantage, because from there, let's say you get, I don't know, a running type quarterback, an athlete at quarterback. Now you can do some different things, but with that
Right.
base,
Right.
instead of just completely changing offenses. Because what happens if that guy gets hurt and your second string guy is more of a passing guy?
Right. Right.
You,
Right.
yeah.
And the thing that's cool, like even though like we've changed formations and things of that nature, like we were more 2x2, 3x1 last year, the numbering system has stayed the same. So we numbered backs 2, 3, 4. Our X is the guy on the ball to the left. Our Y is the guy on the ball to the right. Now, our Y last year was the outside receiver, but he was the guy on the ball. You know what I mean? So, like, we can move pieces, and the terminology doesn't change. Like 28 buck. Hey, you're the 2-back 8-hole. I coach the offensive line, and I feel like I'm a decent offensive line coach, so I can coach those guys up on our stuff. So, but the skill guys, it's almost – it's just like plug and play, man. And we wristband it. So they get signaled in a number and they read 28 buck. Okay, coach. Like, I'm the 2-back, run to the 8-hole. We're going to coach you up how to do that, right? But that's a plug and play system. I can move the 4 to the 2, the 2 to the 4, and we're good to go.
Are you guys do you huddle, or are you more of a no huddle team?
No huddle, but we're not in a hurry. So, I stole this from a guy named, I talked about him before on this podcast, Jeff Herron. He won like 5 state championships in the state of Georgia. They were under center wing T, no huddle though, and they called it from the sideline onto, and they did wristbands. So you're just trying to call the best play possible. So that's what we do. We huddle up, we can freeze, and then don't huddle up. Excuse me, I said that wrong. We don't huddle. We just get to the line. We get a formation, get to the line. We freeze sometimes, and then we try to call the best play. Now, we only have a handful of formations. To me, it's better to have a handful of formations, and in each formation, you can attack all areas of the field than trying to have a bunch of different formations, but you're limited in certain formations as to where you can attack. Because I used to be a defensive coordinator before I became a head coach, and those guys are easy to prepare for. If you were in this formation, you only ran like 1 or 2 plays, that's cake. Now we're having an auto check, and we can, take away your base running that. But, I think back to the Peyton Manning days when they were really good with the Colts. They had like 2 formations, but he could attack wherever you were vulnerable, and that's my philosophy as an offensive play caller.
All right, we kind of mentioned this just a little bit ago when we were talking about the wing T. How do you sell your offense to the players? And then possibly the hardest group to sell to, how do you sell it to the parents and then the community as a whole?
Oh, man. So good questions. The kids, man, first of all, if you're building relationships with them, they know you care about them. They know we're here to win, right? We want to be good. Like, I wouldn't do this if I didn't think it wouldn't help us, right? And so that's number one. The parents, if their kids enjoying it, I think they'll enjoy it. We have a guy that played receiver for us last year, and he's playing like a wing back this year, and he's loving life and loving football. So the parents are happy. He was our Y last year. He was on the ball. Now he's a wing, but he gets the ball more, because I think it's hard to get the ball. Like those X and some people call them the Z, right? We just call them a Y because some years that guy is a tight end for us. It's hard to get those guys the ball consistently because if they got a really good corner and they press them, well, your quick game's gone. You're throwing verticals, right? But if you move them close to the ball, I got a chance to get the ball more. And that's how we sell them on that. And then for us as a community, Nitro, like I said earlier, hadn't won 4 games since 2007. So we got some credence. My first year we won 3. Last year we won 4. Okay, these guys know what they're talking about. Like whatever they're doing they must be doing something right. I don't think our middle school's won more than 1 game in 10 years. You're any kind of success that we can have, people want to mimic it. And we have a coaches clinic we put on for our middle school and youth league guys, and just try to teach them basic things. We add them to our huddle if they want to be added to our huddle, and just trying to build those relationships. We give them hats, it's small things like that, right? You give them a hat, I think it's cool with our N on it. And so yeah, that's how we try to do that.
Now, have you ever had, I have this sometimes. Have you ever had a parent or a player say, I don't know if I want to run this offense because I don't think I'm going to get recruited, because Clemson doesn't run this offense, so why should me? You know what I mean? Like, do you ever get that?
I haven't yet. I'm sure we will. I can always point them to Alabama quarterback who played at the Bowl School in Jacksonville, Florida, Mac Jones. They were under center wing T, and the guy's the quarterback at Alabama. So I'm pretty sure it's not the system that made the quarterback. Like the guy was a good player, right?
Mhm.
I look at like Todd Gurley, the dude, he played in the T offense at Tarboro in Georgia. People, they're going to find the best players and the guys that go Division I. And we had this conversation with our guys. Those guys are there because of genetics. They're there because of mom and dad's genes. Most of them, they have to have the height, the weight, the speed. Now, can they develop that? Sure, but if you're 5'6", 170 pounds, you're not like nobody's knocking down your door, boss. You have to have the God-given intangibles, and then we help them develop that. So we go throw at 707s, different colleges, even though we don't throw the ball a lot, but we try to do that to help our guys get recruited. And I tell them, man, if you shine here, then they'll look at you, and if not, then you're a great high school player, but you're not a college player.
Yeah, I definitely get that sometimes. Now, to the one that I'm most interested in hearing is what the heck is going on in West Virginia right now?
Oh, Coach.
Because I just listening from your podcast, the little tidbits that I'm getting here and there, I understand you have a color system and that depends on who's playing and who's not.
Man.
It's completely different than what we have here in Virginia. We're not playing until February unless they up and change, like Maryland does.
Right.
I don't think we will. We're not playing until February, and the state came out and said, no, we're all going to do the same thing, which I hate that I'm not playing in the fall, but I'm glad we have a plan, a consistent, cohesive plan. From what I'm hearing from West Virginia, it seems to be a little iffy. So you guys have a controversial situation going on. Can you describe that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So, Coach, about a week, and now the time may be off here, but about a week before the season started, it's like a week before we started practice, we came out with our governor. He's just not a very smart guy. And his people, he listens to the wrong people, man. The people that are running us, you think we're like in New York, man. They're like New York liberal. It's amazing. I'm like, you live in West Virginia. You don't live in New York City, but they don't, whatever. So they came out about a week before the season started. They came out with a map, and it was by county, and it was positive cases of COVID, right? They said it would take the amount of cases you have in your county of COVID per 100,000 people. Now, Coach, there's only like 3 counties in West Virginia that have over 100,000 people. We're a small state. I'm in the largest county in Kanawha County. We only have like 180,000 people in Kanawha County, which is small. I mean, that's not a lot of people. So anyways, it was like how many people tested positive per 100,000. If you didn't have 100,000, they'd use a multiplier or whatever. And then it was on a 7-day average. So it was if you had 3 people today, 4 people tomorrow, whatever. So there was 4 colors originally. So there was green, yellow, orange, and red. And if you were in green or yellow, you could play. But if you got in the orange, so orange started at 10 cases per 100,000. And if you do the math on that, that's a minute percentage. But if you were in orange, you could practice but couldn't play. And if you have 25, you had 25 cases per 100,000, Coach. You couldn't practice. And it also dealt with schools. So if you were in green or yellow, you go to school, orange or red, you had to do school virtually. Well, there were like 4 or 5 counties that didn't play football for a couple of weeks. So the governor was like, oh, I got an idea. We're going to add a color, gold. So they cut orange down to where like orange is like 14 to 25. So like gold was 10 to 14.9 or whatever. Well, we're still in the red here in Kanawha County. We're the largest county. We have like 3 major hospitals. We have most of the long-term care facilities. I mean, we're just in a bad spot for this. So then he tried to help us more. And now it's instead of total cases, it's percent positive, but we're still high because, I mean, there's free testing sites everywhere. Like I went and got tested the other day. I was negative. But, I mean, there are 500 people came through that testing site in one day. So, I mean, we've tested like 30% of our population for COVID. And then, so what is it? What, like with football? Why does this stink? So, all the counties around us basically are playing except us. We haven't played a game yet, and they're doing it by county. So there's counties that have played every game. There's counties that have played one or two. And there's counties that have played none. And Kanawha County will be the only county that has played none as of this week. And whatever color you are on Saturday, I know this is confusing. It's confusing to us, true, trust me. On the color you are on Saturday at 5 p.m. is what you are the entire week. So we were orange again this week. So if we could go another color, we're still at orange. We're stuck. Orange, it's like purgatory, right? And I'm, and we went to mass this morning, so I'm not making fun of Catholicism, but yeah, I mean, it's like purgatory. And it's just, man, it's a mess, and it's causing all kinds of friction, and I can see where it's going to cause people to move. I can see it where it causes Kanawha County to lose student population because people want their kids to go to school. They want them to play. Coach, it is a mess. It was the worst possible plan. And the bad thing is our governor comes on YouTube like 3 days a week and says how good the plan is. And everybody's just like, no, man, this is a really bad idea. Oh, man.
I'm going to be honest. The way that our governor was treating things before the VHSL came out and said, nope, nobody's playing, he was going to let the counties decide whether or not their teams in their schools will have any sports. And that would have been the worst case scenario for our school, because in our county, we are the smallest school in the county. Every other school in our county is 6A, the highest there is in Virginia. And so we just started doing some on the field workouts 2 weeks ago. And we were told it was a minor miracle that the county officials allowed us to do just what we were doing. All we can do right now is body weight workouts. We're in pods, no equipment, nothing, no weight room, nothing. And we were told it was a minor miracle we're able to do this. Yeah. So if they had come out and said, oh, you're going to go county by county and make a decision, well, who are we going to play? Because our county wouldn't have let us play. And our other district opponents, the ones that are our level, they would have played because they're in counties that are definitely, we're definitely in a more liberal county, very highly populated. We're closer to DC. And all of our other opponents, our district opponents, are in rural, more Republican counties. I'm not going to get into like politics because I'm not a political person myself. I'm a football coach. I want to play football, but I want to be safe and I want to be fair. And it sucks that we're not playing in the fall, but at least we're still going to be playing our district opponents in the spring if we get the season to go. Because I don't know if we have been undefeated in our district for the last 2 seasons. And there's a good chance we could do it again. There's another team in our district that's getting pretty good, but if we had to play 6A schools, we might not win a game. So it would suck, but I'm sorry about West Virginia, Coach. That sounds, because the uncertainty would be the biggest thing, whether or not you're going to play that week. That would be.
Yeah, and then they changed orange like a couple weeks ago to where we can't even practice anymore. All we can do is condition. So check this out. So last week we were orange 2 weeks ago we were orange Monday and Tuesday, just conditioning. We went red 2 Wednesdays ago through this past week. Coach, if we go gold next week, we will put on pads. They gave us a waiver to practice on Sunday, so we will be able to practice on like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days. We'll put on pads for 4 days, but we won't have put on pads for like 21 days. You know what I mean? And then we're supposed to be able to get ready to play a game in 4 days of practice. Like, okay. It's gonna be the worst. It's gonna be the sloppiest football you've probably ever seen. I mean, the kids are going to love it because they're going to get a chance to play if we get a chance to play. And that's the thing. Like, we're giving them hope. We're trying to keep them up, give them hope. but I don't know what color we're going to be next Saturday. You know what I mean? And it's just become our kids have been great, though. I'll say that, man. They have been – I couldn't ask more of them, and it's just unfair to do it to them. I mean, literally and this is what makes it even worse. The town of Nitro is split between Putnam County and Kanawha County. Putnam County's playing Friday night. So apparently there's the COVID barrier on the Kanawha County Putnam line down the middle of Nitro where we can't play, but Putnam County can. And there's a lot of towns that are similar to that. You know, they're either on the county line or they're close to the county line. So yeah, it's a mess. This will be written about, and somebody's going to come do an op-ed on this and write about this one of these years down the road, I think.
It's interesting because that we have a similar situation with something where most of our skilled players are doing like 7-on-7 with like private 7-on-7 teams that are run locally, but they have nothing to do with like the school division. And so they're able to go out and do that. Mm-hmm. But we can't even use a football when they come onto our practice field.
Sure.
Because we're affiliated with the school district. That's
absolutely
over my head, you know.
My wife the other day, she took our girls to a park while I was coming back while I was working in the morning for Pepsi. And she was talking to me on the phone. She's like, yeah, we were playing and I saw Little League soccer playing. And she was like, I shouldn't have said that. Because I mean, I'm like, you mean they can play, but we can't do anything? It's so crazy how the rules are different. I got a couple of friends down in Georgia, and Georgia's playing football. There's like 10,000 people at games. It's awesome. And I was talking to him about, hey, what's going to happen with COVID? He goes, Coach, let me tell you something. The private schools are all going to play. They don't care what the GHSA says. And it's just, you know, we don't have that here, but it's just interesting how different areas are treating it differently than others. And that's I think I don't know if I speak for myself, but that's one of the most frustrating parts is I have buddies of mine from Georgia send me pictures of stadiums that are slam full with like 10,000 people. And I have to tell my kids like, oh, we can't even put on a helmet. You know, that gets frustrating.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. And I've talked to coaches who are in Maryland where they just flipped their entire decision, and you know, hopefully they've been practicing or they've been doing something because they're like, oh yeah, you guys are going to play a football game in like 2 weeks.
Oh what? Gosh.
Yeah, you know, like, okay. Because we had a discussion in the coach's office the other last week saying maybe half of the kids who've been coming out to our workouts these 2 weeks have done any workout at all since March. You know, a lot of them who are going to show up for football in February will not have worked out in months, and they're going to be so out of shape. And we got to get ready for a football game and with like 2.5 weeks of practice. You know, I can't imagine.
Yeah, buddy.
At least now we have a plan, and hopefully we have a schedule where we can get some stuff going. But right. I really hope I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this, but I hope Virginia does not flip their decision.
Because I'm with you there. Yeah, I mean, like, make a decision and like live with it. You know, give us a schedule and don't change every week. Good gracious, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right. Well, I won't keep you too much longer, Coach. I do have one final question for you. It's more of like an open-ended thing. Any final thoughts? There's a lot of us, you know, I know you have an interesting situation in West Virginia. You know, there's a lot of us out there who aren't coaching right now, and there's not as much positives to be found right now. Do you have any words of wisdom for those coaches who are not playing football right now?
Oh man. I think it's just it's one of those times where you just try to better yourself. You try to look for something to how do I improve myself? So when I get back to coaching, my kids have a better coach. And, you know, I'm sure, Coach, we're similar in this. Some days I'm just spiraling down. Like, this is horrible. What the heck? We're led by morons, blah, blah, blah. And you know, my wife was listening to a podcast, and the person was talking about, hey, we got through World War II. We got through Vietnam. You know, before that, we got through the bubonic plague. You know, like, we're going to get through this. it's just annoying right now for a number of different reasons. But just make sure when this is over that we're better coaches, better people, better husbands, better fathers. So when we coach our kids, we're better. We're a better version than when we left, like after, or before. What's the way to phrase that? Like after March or whatever, right? So that they get a better version of us. And does that get tiresome? Yeah, but we're going to look back 10 years from now, and was it an inconvenience? Yes, but I think it's something we just will overcome, and we'll move forward.
Awesome, Coach. Well, one last time, thank you very much for coming in today.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. This is awesome. I love being on a podcast, not having to host it. You got to do all the hard work. Fantastic.
Exactly. All right. This is Coach Sheffer signing out.